There's already been one upset for the day. Wildcard have defeated the undefeated Knights Fall in their first matchup of APAC South, and we move forward into what could be another banger. My goodness, we've had 2 play days full of them, and this one is the big one. There's a bit of rivalry behind the scenes, although we're just trying to build into it, I think. Guz, Chiefs and Elevate. This is a big one for Elevate, considering they have the chance to leapfrog back over Giants.
They sure do, and they're also looking to prove to Elevate that they were worthy of being picked up by this organisation, yet to get a win under this banner after faltering in the most recent Playday. They've felt untouchable for most of the season up until that point, but there are definitely kinks in their armour, and I'm sure their opponents will be looking to exploit that.
Xenox?
Yeah, look, well, they're already above Giants, so yeah, leapfrog over Knights maybe is what you're going for,
Didn't I say
I don't know.
Giants, Knights?
What's
going
probably
on here?
So probably something like that one. Look, I think this is a really tough one to call. And I'm going to say it already. I tipped Chiefs, but Elevate, man, you've got to respect them. And you've also got to respect them enough to say that last time out was just a one-off thing, and that they're going to be able to bounce back, get the win. And it was full credit to Order. The way Order played in Playday 4, I mean, they deserved the win. And Elevate get a bit of a wake-up call, and they'll probably come out firing. In terms of the rivalry discussion, it's probably more one-sided, right? And you would have to say it's the Chiefs guys would love to get a win over their old org. I don't sense it would come the other way around, for instance. These guys are just going to want to come in, do their job, and when you got Onigiri, Napier, I mean, the list goes on. These guys are super talented, and it's hard to see them really losing, but I still got to back my boys in.
Which one are your boys? That's
the Chiefs. The Chiefs. Up the Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs.
Well, let's have a look. No bias casters here. Well, maybe 1 or 2 of us, but this is a grudge match, in all honesty, Xenox.
Look at the name in the bottom left corner. It's Miloska. He's making his APAC South debut. Digital, unfortunately, is a little bit unwell. He just sent out the tweet. I've been itching ever since I saw it all of 2 minutes ago. This is big. This is really, really, really big. And, guys, all I'm saying is the Chiefs are going to close this one out pretty comfortably now.
I'm not so sure about that. I love to give Milo a little bit of a hard time, but in all honesty, I'm not sure just how much time he has had on this roster. He's been in that sub position, so it's difficult to ascertain if he has been regularly screwing with the team and what capacity he's been screwing with them. So he could really be diving into the deep end. He is a very capable player. He has played at the highest level in ANZ. He knows what he's doing. But when you're jumping into a new roster, that's obviously incredibly difficult to play at your best. So we're going to have to see the rest of the team really step up. We've seen Vast actually stepping up massively quite recently, and he was a standout player last week for the Chiefs. He went 12-6. Digital was praising him for the contributions that he was having to the team. So I think he'll be one to keep an eye on him.
So, Xenox, we're a little bit split on the desk here. Predictions where I think we're 2 for Chiefs, 3 for Elevate. For many, I think back home, they would be a little bit confused by those predictions, but have we seen enough from Chiefs so far this season to warrant that kind of a prediction?
Maybe, maybe not. It's maybe also a bit of OCN coming into it because they have been performing well there. And they're a team that's on the up. They are also a team that does play to their opponent. So if they are going up against a really solid opposition, they do tend to play up a little bit. And sometimes an opposition they should be beating, they do have those inconsistencies that continue to plague them. And it's the main reason why they're not considered closer to, say, Knights, for instance, from Oceania. Look, if Chiefs play their best, and if Elevate are a little bit off, like they were in Playday 4, you have to then back in the Chiefs. So they have to just back themselves in, and if they do that, then they're a right chance at this one.
Yeah, they definitely sound like they've lost their voice, though, in Digital, which we've all seen the clip. He is a loud boy, to say the very least. But let's jump into the map, Vito. Let's have a look whether this is going to have a huge effect or not. So we head to Cafe, which, to be fair, I think we've only seen once, maybe twice so far in APAC South. I think it's twice now. So, guys, leaning into this, are we feeling the OS win or Southeast Asia here? Who's going to come out in the dominant form?
Well, obviously I picked Elevate heading into this one. That's probably reaffirmed by the addition of Molosca to the Chiefs roster. In terms of the map vetoes more specifically, I don't think that really gives us any more of an indication as to which team's more favoured. The only thing I will say is Elevate have played it once here in APAC South. It was a 7-5 victory against Q Confirm, so they got the 3 points. As for the Chiefs, you need to go really far back before they last played this in an official, like, really far back. We're talking OCN last year, and they actually lost to LFO, who, for those who are watching for the first time and maybe haven't watched OCN, for example, not really one of the strongest teams in the region, so it doesn't fulfill me with a whole lot of hope just based on that result. But again, remember, long time ago, these guys are rejuvenated, refreshed, and they're a different team to what we saw back then.
Xenox?
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that Chiefs banned Oregon, which maybe in a way could have been seen as a bit more of a comfort pick. And the thing I'll also point out, as Guz sort of touched on, was Elevate, formerly Xavier, when they played Q Confirm on Cafe, which is the only time either of these two teams has played Cafe. That was the first time we actually saw a bit of weakness in Xavier, now Elevate, right? That was the first time we actually saw a team really take it up to them. It was super close all the way to the end, and then Q Confirm kind of got a little sloppy towards the end. That allowed Elevate to get the win in regular time. So I don't mind this, and for Chiefs, I don't think they should be too worried. And the fact that they elected to choose Cafe over Oregon says that they're not going to be too worried coming into this matchup on Cafe specifically.
And so, look, we always talk about, like VOD reviewing and stuff like this, Guz. Would it be enough to warrant that maybe Chiefs could have lent into this pick, especially as Xenox has touched on banning Oregon at the final breath?
I'd say that putting too much emphasis on the 7-5 and any potential weaknesses there from Elevate is maybe a little bit too extreme, again, considering it's two Thai teams going against one another. So, for example, right, in that matchup, Elevate banned out Finka and Wamai. Chiefs are not going to be playing Finka. They're going to be playing a completely different playstyle. So, not to throw Xenox under the bus too much, but I really don't think
he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
That result's not too indicative. Sure, 100%, maybe there are some weaknesses that are map specific, but in terms of the playstyle against OS teams, not so much.
All right, well, I think that's going to sum it up and finish us off here on the desk. So we're going to throw it back over to Dev and Raven for all the action. Enjoy.
All the action, you're promising a lot here, Rob, but look, I know why. It's because here in APAC South, we deliver. Raven, we've already had a massive upset today. Could it be 2 for 2 here? It's Chiefs versus their old organization and currently, potentially, the #1 spot team after this game in Elevate.
Yeah, look, it's a big matchup. Chiefs have been hunting for some solid form in APAC South. It's been a bit patchy, as well as Oceanic Nationals. So, look, they've got a chance here. I feel like Cafe isn't a bad pick from them against this team. They did struggle against Q Confirm. Do have to agree with Guz, though. Maybe not the kind of result to read a lot into.
For Elevate, a game, an opportunity for them to take that first place in APAC South Division back from the Knights. For Chiefs, a chance for their debut streak to continue. And some revenge against their former organization in Elevate. Let's dig right into these ban phase. And of course, Elevate, get rid of that Nomad. They are gonna be flanking every second.
Yeah, I feel like if you're Chiefs, you got to come to expect this, right? Elevate are just going to be all over this map. And I think it does really help that there is a fresh VOD of Elevate playing this map against Q Confirm. I think in particular, that's going to be their playstyle to the extreme. So having that go through, it's going to be big. The Valkyrie ban as well, very helpful for Chiefs because that Elevate are going to be wanting to use that to be able to facilitate, all that running around and the flanking. Right, round one. Looking forward to seeing how Elevate go on this defense half. I think this is going to be the toughest challenge for Chiefs, is keeping Elevate at bay on this defense. I think that is where that Elevate are scariest on a map like Cafe.
Certainly could be a close game, or it could be not a close game. I like the line pick though from Worthy. Looking to suppress a bit of that aggression from Elevate, the thing that they are just known for. I do wonder how much this Molosca subbing in for Digital is going to have an effect here. Molosca is a player that has been around for a very long time. As an under-18 team, as an under-18 player, he played for the Sleeper Gaming, a very, very strong Oceanic team that played in the good old Summer Series back in the day. If anyone actually remembers that, I don't know. But Molosca was a talking point way back from, you know, before he was eligible to play in the top level. And you know, now he is, and he has for quite some time after joining the Noble guys. So he's obviously Fisher Guy's former teammate on that roster. And Molosca is not only an incredibly mechanically skilled player, and that's what he's always been known for, but something I didn't realize until more recently as I started to get to know him, is he is an incredibly intelligent player. He has a really good understanding, I think, and a very mature understanding of how the game works and what it takes to be a good team. So Digital, you know, quite a big loss, especially when it comes to the interviews. I really hope he gets well soon. But Molosca, I think, is a worthy replacement.
To piggyback off that too, Molosca is one of those players that is very vocal and has that leadership quality, as well as, you know, he's a positive figure on the team, so he is actually a great slot in for Digital, because that's something that Digital brings in the background as well. So I think this isn't going to really affect the Chiefs a whole lot. On top of that, he has subbed in for them once. It was in a less official capacity on Rex Gauntlet, which was a side tournament we had in Australia. But he performed very well against the Knights in a very sweaty Oregon match. So he has shown that he can fit in with this roster already.
Very quiet start to this game, Raven. It's very uncharacteristic of Elevate to just sit there and wait for it. But it's also on Chiefs, who haven't contested whatsoever that piano side of the map yet. They're going for this vertical take, looking to eventually execute through Cocktail. It's what you typically see when teams take vertical control. They flush out Cocktail, they go for that East Rappel where we see Vast and Fisher currently. The name of the game here, Raven, is clearing out these positions of these players at Cocktail, which is what God Legion's trying to do.
Yeah, really got to destabilize these positions, especially because Chiefs are really hard focused on taking this East control in towards Cocktail. They have absolutely flushed that position of Napier. It's going to be Milo getting that opening pick as well. That's a way to start on the official sub-in. They have found themselves in this 5v3 as well. 40 seconds to go. Set up to be in a great position in round one.
It's all going to come down to this execute. DCH holding the line. Oh, he looks away at the wrong moment and loses his head for it. Angry finds the first pick. He's the last victim. At Chiefs, run away with it, Raven. An incredibly dominant opening here for the Aussies. And one round on the board on their attack.
That was a great round, honestly. They looked very confident in that attack. On top of that, I feel like Elevate just needed to contest maybe on that second floor more. It just felt like Elevate were able to have their way with the bottom of Cocktail. And it really didn't help Napier. He was just cornered, could not move, and well isolated from Chiefs. This is a good start. You know, Elevate are an aggressive team, a little bit intimidating in that regard. They have some solid, sharp fraggers. Sure, Onigiri is probably one of the names that people will spring to when you think about the fraggers on that roster. So to be able to stand up with a strong start like that, I think is fantastic for the Chiefs.
Yeah, certainly is. It's pretty exciting as well at the prospect of another upset. It would be quite the streak as well for Elevate. Funnily enough, it was their debut with the Elevate roster that punished them last time in their game against QC. Now, of course, Xenox and Guz talked a lot about that game and how can we really read into that and say, sorry, it was against the game against Order rather. where they lost. Can we really read into that and say much about it? I don't know. It's hard to say whether we really can read in much and say is Elevate actually off form right now. And what happened? Because like Raven, nothing has happened, to my knowledge, in the time between these guys being Xavier and just dominating everyone, and them losing to Order, and of course today. They definitely just need to springboard back.
Yeah, but look, I mean, maybe we've been just overvaluing Xavier's season so far, or Elevate season so far. Oh my gosh, I knew I was going to say it. I'm literally reading their old names, so that's going to be my excuse. But I was looking back at the old match tracker between Elevate and Q-Confirm from a few play days ago. They were down 5-2 at one stage on Cafe, and they had a very ordinary attack half. So I think this is going to be important for Elevate. If they don't even have a strong defense, they've already proven to us that they have very shaky attacks on this map. So Chiefs starting this strong again with an opening pick into Onigiri.
Oh no,
danger
Angry
zone.
Oh, and that is just the worst. Angry X tries to take an opportunity and punished for it. On the back of that, the E1D does roar, suppressing any kind of aggression. And look, honestly, Raven here, I don't want to call it early, but like this, it just looks like Chiefs have Elevate's number.
They look very fired up in the start of this match, that's for sure. They are confident and they are playing completely without intimidation. And again, I just want to go back to that. I feel like Elevate, especially some of these OS teams, maybe do just have that essence of intimidation. And Chiefs are certainly not intimidated right now. Elevate are going to have to adapt quick here because these defense rounds, if they're not winning these, they will fly by. Let's not count our chickens too early though. There's still over a minute to go, but another player by the wayside. Chiefs with a solid man advantage.
Oh, missed opportunity almost. DCH does get it. Just managed to land enough shots there. That's a big pick though. God Legion down. Still one more E1D, and that's what I'm a bit worried about here, Raven. As there's just 2 players left for Elevate. Chiefs still just playing for picks. Like, they're not taking piano control. Oh, that was almost a floor bang. DCH dancing with death here, but in the disadvantage, he knows he needs to take some risks.
Absolutely does. Sapper, he's going to get a big pick onto Fisho. Was tagged up a little bit in an engagement. Drops below to rotate. So Chiefs do have pretty solid vertical control right now. Oh my god, DCH almost walked into that grenade. It blows up the smoke babe in mid-air, so that's not going to have any effect. But 20 seconds, Chiefs have got to make this execute happen.
Oh, this is so winnable now. That's the diffuser. How on earth will Chiefs lose this? Surely not. Elevate have everything going for them. A blind C4 thinking that that's where the plant is. Chiefs have to go for kills. There is no second guessing it. It's all on Worthy, the top fragger. And he has absolutely no idea where the remaining defenders are. Elevate, clutch victory from the jaws of defeat. The 2 versus 5. I can't believe it, Raven. That was honestly ridiculous.
It was pretty ridiculous. It was just a great shot from DCH and just unfortunate. It was the diffuser carrier at the skylight. I feel like just a bit of mistiming from the Chiefs. They really needed to tighten up so that the skylight player dropping was better covered. You know, there was nobody at the new hatch over near Cigar to cover that freezer swing. Nobody on one of the windows in Cocktail. I know it's a little bit more risky there, but regardless, just no cover for that player to actually get to site for that execute. So a little bit sloppy in the end, but these early and mid rounds have been strong for the Chiefs.
Yeah, definitely a bit of throw from them. But Elevate, I mean, credit to the 2 guys who managed to clutch that out. It was DCH and Sapper. Especially because, you know, when Super Onigiri goes down, like, my heart goes down. He's the player that I'm expecting to pull off these crazy plays. And he's yet to really find himself in this game so far. DCH has stepped up. And DCH has been a notable player in the past. He had a good 2020 in APAC North, but it has kind of fallen to the wayside this season. Pew and Onigiri tend to be the ones that we talk about in terms of the playmakers in those big positions. And having those big impacts. I remember a game earlier this season where Onigiri was just in Cafe, or on Cafe, in the piano room, like aggressively holding a position very similar to where he is right now. And he got like 3 or 4 kills and absolutely turned up the heat. And it looks like he's trying to revitalize, I guess, some of that confidence that we know him for by spawn peeking a bit here.
He looks very keen to peek out these windows and just make some kind of play. And that's the thing that's just so scary about Elevators. They are always keen to make a play. They want to get in the face of their opponents and just be a little bit unpredictable. They will just put resources at it. If Onigiri was to find an opening here, I wouldn't put it past Elevate to just throw an extra body to double down on the aggression. The Chiefs are always going to need to be on weight here. Milo's just going to see that C4 on the wall. Surely he shoots that. That could be really detrimental to leave that up if someone's to drop Red Hatch. And there it goes. So far, a minute off. Have not had really any big engagements, and Chiefs have really struggled to get in and get this vertical control.
Yeah, it's really just step one, isn't it? Taking control of Piano as they start to get in. God Legion on the forefront. That Banshee dealt with from the nade. Sapper downstairs with the Ella shotgun. I do wonder what the play is for him. Usually when you play the FO12, you have a specific position you're trying to hold. ECH, hello? He's certainly turning it up today. He's been a big player. Honestly, I couldn't tell you where that pick came from. There you go. It was on the cocktail windows from Cocktail. Credit to him. The MX4 Storm is a nasty gun.
That is a nasty gun. Definitely in the hands of a player like DCH as well. And oh my lord, Elevate have just picked Chiefs apart. Oh, that is a flawless round, and this is just such a swing. Chiefs really struggled to get anything happening on that round at all. Once they finally got in, they just funneled down White Hallway. DCH, Elevate in general, read into it beautifully. Never a single millimeter of a chance for Elevate. For Chiefs. I'm getting mixed up.
Oh, the old Elevate. Man, yep. I think we've jinxed it, Raven. We were both so convinced. Like, Chiefs had such a good first round, and then that second round they were up 5v2. And from that point on, like I don't think I was... I think I had a right to be so confident in Chiefs from that point, right? Like, they 100% should have won that round. And somehow Elevate out of nowhere just managed to do this. That is quite something. And suddenly, not only the momentum has flipped, but my gut feeling about where this game is going has started to flip.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning to have seen such a stall from Chiefs come out on that round. And you're right, you know, round two really should have been in their pocket. They had done everything right up to that point. He's got to be able to shake that off, but to go back to it, you know, Elevate should be excelling in these cafe defense halves. Like, they really should be. They struggled on their attacks against Q Confirmed, but their defenses were fantastic. So if they don't get, I would say, at least a 4-2 half here, it's still very much a chance for the Chiefs. But the Chiefs, on the other hand, you know, they need to continue to try and fight harder on these attacks. They can't be doing what just happened in round 3.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that Elevate have come back with their confidence and their aggression on Agiri for one. Once again, peeking those piano windows. I think he's a little magnet to those things. He loves them. Napier also on the roam. Going all the way down to Kitchen for this defense. And still Elevate. I mean, just look at him. It's like he's got ants in his pants. I love it. This is classic Elevate, or rather, you know, the old Xavier guys. Classic Elevate. And there's one drone hacked and one drone shot. Good info denial on this roam. I feel like Chiefs aren't really getting a lot out of this.
Absolutely. And oh my lord, what a sharp shot from Sapper. Milo, since that first round, has really struggled. As have the Chiefs, really. Again, this vertical control, it's only really just happening right now. Need we remind you, this is a first floor defense. Kitchen, you really need to be efficient if you're doing a top down. You spend a lot of time just even getting this top floor, let alone the second floor. It's rough, man. Like, you have to rush those executes.
If there is any pattern I could say. It's here in the first round where Chiefs were so dominant. Elevate really didn't contest them whatsoever. Like, Chiefs were going for that cocktail push, and the contrast here is that Elevate aren't giving Chiefs 2 seconds to themselves. That is the Elevate playstyle that we know and love. And it is working so well against the Chiefs. Chiefs did well when they didn't have to deal with that. When Elevate played passively, and then suddenly Elevate started to activate and bring what we know them for. And that is starting to be successful, though this could be the man count evened up if Napier is spotted here in an aggressive position. He may land his shot through the wall, but no. Worthy shuts him down, and we do settle into a 3 versus 3.
Yeah, evening that out is really going to be helpful for the Chiefs here. They still have a bit of time, but as you can see through some of those outlines, Elevate are still spread out. They are not just sitting on site. Angry X is still in the coat check. It's really going to have to be found, and 2 players fluidly running around on the bomb site. It's going to make it tough to settle for this execute. Now, 30 seconds to go. This is going to be a very tough push in for the Chiefs.
It's going to come down to these entries and making sure for Elevate that they can trade out these picks. Vast, very late droning. Gas in his face. He's going to have to tank that, as is Fisher, as they push through. Vision impaired. Fisher keen with the AK-12. Lands a shot through the smoke onto DCH, the impact player so far. Sapper, no gases left! But what is that? Out of nowhere, Elevate just collapse. The flank perfectly timed from Angry X, and the plant denial as well. My god, this game has turned around, and Elevate are running away with it.
Yeah, 3 in a row after the strong start the Chiefs had is definitely not great for the Chiefs, but certainly great for Elevate. They have done a great job stalling Chiefs out and getting map control. I think that has been the critical thing. I remember saying it with Bar Cocktail way back in round 1. That Elevate just let the Chiefs get that vertical control early in through reading. And because they let that happen, Chiefs got a solid round. Since then, you said it perfectly, Dev. Elevate are not giving the Chiefs a second to really be by themselves and think things through. It is stalling out the better part of 2 minutes of these rounds. And it is really starting to have a knock-on effect. You know, the late round droning, they didn't get a chance to check code check. So Angry X, perfectly timed. They couldn't really cover the plant, the execute, and fell apart completely.
Yeah, certainly a big move now for Elevate. Now, side note, as Guz posted in our little secret production chat, these Elevate guys are actually still playing in their team house environment that they have had back when there was Xavier. So these guys, not just now, but always, do have that kind of advantage of living in the same place, or I don't know if they live there, but at least working in the same place when it comes to their games. And the advantage that I think that brings when it comes to your team comms and I guess the hype and the momentum, right? Like, surely, I mean, you can provide some insight, Raven. I know that you coached on LAN twice, I believe. And the difference between, what is the difference between that and compared to a normal environment?
I think it's just so much easier to feed off your teammates' energy, as well as if there's a bit of negative energy hanging around. I feel like it's easier to just make eye contact with your teammate and kind of get them to pull their head in a bit. Yeah. So I think that is where it has the biggest benefits. It's really just mindset and team synergy, because you are literally right next to each other. It's just something about that you cannot emulate online at all.
You can't get away with just being that person that sits there silently in the call and doesn't say anything, right? You're in person, like you make eye contact with that person. There is no escaping them. Just like there is no escaping on Agiri as he takes down Molosca, the sub, coming in from that support staff position and once again losing his head. There's another one for Onigiri. My god, what are you meant to do about this man?
I don't know whether it's coming down to them just not having digital on, but there are really some cohesion issues right now with Chiefs. You know, there's opportunities to do something better to flush out Onigiri from this position. He's been able to kill half the round and 2 players of Chiefs. That is seriously such a great effort. It's finally traded, but he has done his job so well.
Ooh, big job there from the ADS to burn one of those Selma charges. No more hard breach remaining for Fisho. Worthy rattles out the V308. God Legion, he's destroyed that bar at the back of bar, if you will. And that's usually a lot of cover to hide behind. That's a big move here. And speaking of, look at them go straight on in there. Chiefs start to move in, but DCH unaddressed finds the double with the shotgun, this SMG, to close out the round and elevates. Complete their streak 4 rounds in a row.
Brutal is one way to describe that. BCH just put on a clinic from that freezer position. But I just don't know what's happening with Chiefs Dev. The first round just looked so tight. They had great progress with their attacks. It looked fantastic. But that was an absolute mess. You know, they didn't have great cover of Onigiri's position at Pixel. They just had these window peaks that were very flimsy. They could have pinched from, New Hatch, for example. I know that could be covered from Cocktail, but regardless, there are ways to deal with that are much safer. But he was able to have his way with it. And then it felt like that push into backstore, I don't know, just seemed a bit odd at the time of the round.
I mean, I don't have a problem with early executes. I actually really like them. I think that it can catch your opponent off guard. But you have to check the default positions, right? At Elevate, we're playing a player in Freezer. And that is a pretty normal position for someone to play. And the fact that Chiefs, they didn't, drone it, flash it, even just dry peek it, that is the confusing part to me. And that is a big concern here for Chiefs. Elevate are just doing Elevate things to them. And this is the thing that we see from Xavier. Like, when teams play against Xavier, the teams playing against Xavier look bad. Because that's just what happens. Elevate just have a way of throwing you off your game.
Oh, totally. It's very intimidating. I think I've said intimidation about 100 times, but it really is. Players like Onigiri and DCH, they are so sharp. And once they string some of those plays together, it can be a little bit demoralizing. You can say as a player that you feel mentally tough, but when you get absolutely smacked down like that, it doesn't feel good. It never feels good. So I think Chiefs just have to be really careful. They need to save some mental fortitude, just stay up and about. On top of that, I still wouldn't say it's a fail half if Chiefs manage to get this to be 2-4. That's really not that abnormal for Cafe. And given that Elevate are solid on defenses on Cafe historically, a 2-4 half wouldn't be, a total fail.
Yeah, for sure. I concede that. Look, it is a sound bug rehost at the moment. We've just having a bit of a tech pause, getting the players back in the lobby, etc. But just to go back for a minute and talk, like you were saying, about form on this map for both teams. On the Chiefs side of things, we don't actually have much. Last time they played this, as was spoken about on the pre-show desk, was in the Wrecked Omen Gauntlet, and they played that twice over there, but that was quite a different scenario, of course. And they haven't played it in APAC South this year. They haven't played in OCN either. On the flip side, this is a pretty staple map for Elevate, always has been. And we have a lot of evidence that this is a good map for Elevate, right? Like, this is, in terms of pure wins, their best map since last October with 11 wins, only just edging out Clubhouse. And I've talked about how much I think these guys are pretty solid on Clubhouse. So Chiefs even going to this map is pretty ballsy.
Yeah, look, I have to agree. When I saw it come up in the veto, I did feel like it was quite ballsy. I did feel like that it was probably going to be assisting Elevate. That being said, sometimes when you see a team go to a map like this and they haven't played it much, and it's against a team that is pretty good at it, it makes you start to think, do they have a strategy in their pocket? Like, if they've really hard-voted this and feel like they have it figured out, but they just haven't been able to deliver so far in these attacks. Going back to the results you're talking about as well, I'm just quickly looking through that list. When you see things like a 7-1 victory over Cyclops on Cafe, like, that really means something. Like, that is pretty significant. And it's not just that, they've beaten teams like Fab 7-3 on Cafe. They had a 7-2 victory against Q-Confirm in a more local tournament. Like, they have had some really significant victories in this map. I just think if Chiefs don't get this next round, a 5-1 deficit is going to be very hard to claw back.
Yeah, definitely a tough one for the Chiefs to be in. And look, the thing that we have spoken about in the past, like you've been harping on about, is Elevate really do prosper on their defense on this map. And that's where they have been so far. So Maybe it was just a hiccup that first round for Elevate. And once they switch on to the attack, we don't expect them to be as good. In their attack half against Q-Confirm, they only won 2 out of 6 rounds. But at this point, right, like, if this does end up being a 5-1 half for Elevate, they only need to win 2 attacks, and that will still take the game. So I am a bit worried for Chiefs. Even best case scenario, a 2-4 half, like, that's nice, but it still might not be enough to push them over the edge. I don't know what else I can say there. I'm still pretty concerned for Chiefs.
Yeah, look, me too. On top of that, you think about the standings. For Elevate, this is for them to stay in touch with the Knights at the top of the table. But for Chiefs, they are among that absolute logjam in the middle of so many teams on equal points, trying to break into playoff contention in that top 4. For them to not get any points from this, because of course if they do get to overtime, even at least 1 point might help going through towards the end of the stage. But if they get absolutely obliterated and get 0 out of this, it's really going to put them in a tough position to be able to maintain that mid-table position or even break into playoffs.
Yeah. Just to remark upon that log jam in the middle of the APAC South standings right now, right? So first place, you go straight on through second, third, and fourth, go into playoffs, right? Now, currently, fourth place at the start of today was contested by Chiefs, Giants, Seventh Heaven, and Order. 4 teams on 5 points. And now Wildcard has actually jumped above all of those, and they have taken 4th place. So now all those teams I just mentioned are tied at 5th place. But Chiefs could very easily jump back in front of Wildcard and even Q-Confirm if they do win this game. And then they would be sitting in 3rd place. So it's a big moment for Chiefs as well. Are they going to be not only in the top 4, but they could even potentially be a contender for that number 1 spot? Or will they be left in the wayside and continue to be just one of those middle pack teams? And at the moment, I think it's safe to say that about 75% of the teams in our league are middle pack teams. But that's not going to stay that way for very long.
No, it's probably not. And also, as was said after that first game, it does feel like in this region at the moment, anyone could beat anyone. So you never know what's going to happen week to week. Just looking at Chiefs' remaining games, they will have Q-Confirm on Tuesday. And then to round out the stage, they will have Order. So those are both teams that they are going head-to-head in the standings with right now. So if they do get points out of both of those games, look, maybe they will find themselves in playoff contention. But regardless, you don't want to be putting that kind of pressure on yourself late in the stage. It's definitely stressful. You can have an okay stage, but it's going to come back to bite you, because if you don't secure points when they're there to get, it's going to be a tough finish to the stage. And on top of that, you feel that pressure going into those last games. You start thinking about standings when you're meant to be just focusing on the game. Yeah,
for sure. And it's not just about stage 1. It's about the whole year and the end of year APAC finals. It's also about the 6 Invitational 2022. And if you get in the top 4 in stage 1, you are earning points towards the 6 Invitational. And you look at a team like Chiefs, they have never earned 6 Invitational points. Never. Never happened for them. This would be massive for them, but they have to break into the top 4.
But they do. So, look, they've still got some big rounds ahead of them. This one in particular, I just want to emphasize, if Chiefs win this round, I really don't think it's that out of reach for them to bring it back on their defense half. 2-4 would not be a terrible attack half for them. So this is where they've got to just really dig deep. Hopefully they've been able to use that pause to collect their thoughts and just reapproach this, because round 1 was just fantastic. They just need to readapt to how Elevate have started playing.
Yeah, they've only got 1 round to do it here, Raven. It is definitely the moment where I feel like it's a turning point in this game. Like we've said, Elevate, they win this round, they only need 2 attacks, and that's the whole game. So, very, very optimistic from their side if they can manage that. Chiefs, like we've been already established, a 2-4 half on their attack is not unwinnable. In fact, very achievable. It's just a slight defensive margin on this map, and it's totally possible that Chiefs could then either win 4 defenses or even 5, cop the win, or at least push overtime. I see that as very plausible if these guys get 2 attacks, but it does hinge on whether Chiefs can start to put pressure on this playstyle, this ever-present aggression from Elevate.
He's going to be reading Fireplace, which was a flawless round for Elevate. Just to remind you how that went back in round 3.
Not great.
So, not great at all. Hopefully Chiefs can fix something here. Looking to get this entry into Piano, which isn't being hard contested right now. There are a couple of Elevate players on this top floor, but camping mostly on the east side. So in the Chiefs go, it's going to be very critical for them. If they can get this top floor control within this first 90 seconds to 2 minutes, they'll be sitting in a much better position.
Angry X, look at him. Look at this stack of utility. A Prisma, 2 deployable, or 2 ADSs and a deployable shield. DCH as well to support on the crossfire from Tarps with another Prisma. I like these Prismas.
Me too. I think this one's great as well, because this is the angle that you would pre-fire is you creep down white. You're either going to hit the Prisma or it's going to hold you back from pre-firing, which is obviously not going to help you once you finally get in that engagement. So I think that is a really clever use of the Prismas. Looks like Chiefs, though, are actually opting not to go the classic vertical control and take Cocktail. Might be looking for a dining plant here.
Ooh, risky business. It's the kind of thing that does potentially open up the gates for a retake from Elevate. As a minute remains, it does really look like Chiefs are committing to this. Time is getting too low for them to really go for a hard clear of top floor. God Legion in a great position, right on in pillars.
Still waiting for that opening. Still no HP lost in the server right now, and only 40 seconds. This can only be favoring the defense. They're going to be opening into reading, and again, without this vertical control, any kind of executing a reading is going to be very, very tough. Chiefs need to decide where they are going for this execute soon and really start to set this up.
Waiting patiently for that opening pick, but you can't wait forever. 20 seconds left. When will the church bell ring? Sapper with this shotgun as God Legion swings the corner. Surely he doesn't win this. Sapper with this shotgun opens up proceedings, but Molosca's found one elsewhere. Fisher starting to get this diffuser down in reading, but he's taken out, and it's all on Molosca now as time ticks down and Elevate complete their dominant half on defense. 5-1.
Dominant is the perfect word, and what I loved about that from Elevate is the previous 4 rounds, we saw them running around so much. They were up in the face of Chiefs. They were really pushing them back into a corner. That round, they executed some great discipline. They didn't get over-aggressive. They didn't try and retake the top floor or flank up a raid or anything like that. They just knew they had the map control that they needed to stop that execute, and they held. And that's totally what happened. The Chiefs just didn't have enough teeth in the push to get that down. It really just relied on God Legion getting that narrow frag onto the Elo player, and look, that was always going to be tough with that FO12.
Yeah, certainly a bit of a desperate push there from Chiefs. A lot of ideas going on at once, and not really like a clear and directed push from them. And when, maybe I think if that had happened with 45 seconds left on the clock, that could have gone to Chiefs. But not when time is ticking down and Chiefs are in a desperate position forcing down that plant. Elevate will run away with that every day of the week. Now they're poised. One more round on the board for Elevate, and they will tie the top of the standings with the Knights. And a second round on top of that, Elevate take outright first place in APAC South League. Even an overtime win here for Elevate will put them above the Knights and reclaim that first place on the standings. Chiefs came into this game hoping for a bit of revenge over their former org, but it just isn't happening right now. And have a look at this fiery lineup that Elevate have brought to the table.
Yes. Would not put it past these guys at all to bring in a little Maru strat on Cafe. See whether Napier... He's got a few options, right? Like, he could go through either of these cocktail windows, or he could get into Laundry and go up the hatch. What a great drone, though, spotting out God Legion on the Jaeger. This could be a very deadly round if Chiefs are not careful.
Napier 45 seconds into the rounds. He's so keen for this. Elevate completely distracted. So much information for Elevate. As they bide their time and wait, start to decide what is the play here. What are they going to go for? They're teasing this strategy. It looks like it might be on the cards, but back out again. The gyro hook, but still droning.
Just being very cautious is Napier. He wants to do it, but just waiting for some level of clearance. Still hasn't happened. Getting another drone into position again. Just this info gathering has been phenomenal from Elevate.
I feel like Chiefs kind of got some inkling that this is the strategy as well, because they gassed that position. Napier's got so much info. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know what's going to happen, and that is all hell. Here it comes. No. Once again, Elevate, you're baiting me. When is this call coming through? The Yin Candelas will have to fly through that skylight. Napier ready and waiting for that call from his teammates. Elevate ready. Here it comes. And will Napier go in? He's waiting for that moment. He's waiting for that chance. A minute on the clock and in he goes. The first kill is the nade from Angry X. Fisho down, but immediately Napier trades out. 3v2 now for Elevate. Vast and Worthy holding down, but it's all on Worthy. And Elevate have stormed the building. On for the retake now is the Malusi, but there's no way he's going to make this work. DCH locks it down. Elevate explode into the bomb site and take match points.
Great execute in the end. Man, it felt like we were building to that for so long. Napier was ready for a good 45 seconds. And it was well executed. They just exploded on. Got a couple of picks, traded, gave themselves that man advantage. Chiefs were caught scrambling. We thought that maybe they did have an inkling it was coming, but it didn't matter. Elevate still ran over the top of them once it happened. And as you were saying before, that means they have secured overtime points, whether that's 1, 2. They could still, of course, secure 3 points here. It means the Chiefs need 5 perfect rounds to salvage this map.
Yeah, it just does not look doable right now. This is certainly not the revenge story that Chiefs wanted going in. Elevate have everything they need to rocket back to the top of the standings. Currently tied first place and pending round difference. That may end up being actual first place. Imagine the Knights versus Elevate game. How exciting is that going to be? The 2 top teams in this region, both of which have had some pitfalls, but let's be honest, that we haven't really been questioning it throughout the last few play days. Elevate and Knights are the top 2 in this region.
Yeah, really feels like we're building to that absolute banger match that's going to be on the last play day, mind you. So it's really one to look forward to. Probably is going to actually decide ultimately who is going to be first place. If these guys can keep up their form, probably going to be within 1 or 2 points of each other. So we may get an outright victor just from that game. Very exciting to think about, honestly, Dev.
Yeah, certainly is. Bit of a roam here from Chief setup. Info denial. Mid and Mozzie. Always like to see it. I love the Valentine's Day skin from God Legion. Valentine's Day date with Siege is probably the only Valentine's Day date he's ever had.
Oh, man, that's rough. Don't do him like that.
I'm sorry, God Legion. I love him. He's a very, very, very good dude. Just had to do it to him.
Well, he's going to need to summon some strength from the hearts and the gun because they are really, really suffering right now. A minute in, Elevate haven't really progressed too much. Vast under fire and Bakery. Did look like that maybe there was I think it was Napier poised to enter in towards mining. Hasn't quite happened yet. And Elevate, they actually look very keen to hard clear out this Bakery. Now, Milo is there to back up Vast in this position. Also apply a red hallway to assist in this as well. This is either going to be a hard take, or we might see Elevate bail off.
What's the util game here? Vast doesn't have a lot protecting him. Just that lone ADS. I don't think there's even a second one. Anyway, But the first pick does go, for the first time in what feels like forever, towards Chiefs. In fact, it was the very first round where they found the opening pick. It was Napier who died then, and him who dies right now as well. Very pivotal one there. But can Elevate springboard back off of this?
See what happens here, but you're right. They're stalled out. You know, there's been a lot of this round that has gone by, and they have not got this bakery control. Angry X, though, he is just looming on this flank. Seems like a very alluring position for him to just jump in and go.
Oh.
That may be the go signal. The frag grenade taking out Fisho means that a lot of this attention might have to shift back towards this position.
Love the patience that Elevate exhibit. We've seen it time and time again. 30 seconds left. 2.5 minutes have subsided, and finally Elevate stepped their foot in the building. Taking control of Whiskey. And now into VIP. Keeping in mind that Miloska has this C4 primed and ready, but he misses it. Heartbreaking. As Onigiri falls, VAR steps up, but DCH as well takes down God Legion. No love lost there. 3v3. Vast holds down Mouse 1, but he can't overcome. It's all on Miloska, the sub, against 2 low HP players, but the time dwindles to nothing. And Chiefs find their first rounds since the very first round of this map.
And it almost fell apart. I cannot believe that. 1v3. It felt like Elevate just were in such a great position. But just didn't eventuate. Milo with a very big pick at the double door there on the entry from Whiskey. Was the diffuser dropped? That was ultimately what got the Chiefs that round. Big task ahead of them, though. There's still got 4 more to find. They fell into the round win on that one. So either way, keeps them with some skin in the game. Another chance to bring it back.
Does make you wonder as well, maybe if Elevate had executed 2 seconds earlier, that round they could have won it. But you can't play the what if game all day. This has certainly been suspenseful. I feel like a lot of these rounds have had really extended periods of just sitting and waiting, Raven, and not knowing which way the pendulum will fall. But Elevate, they have such a round buffer at the moment that it feels impossible for Chiefs to be able to get a look in back into this game.
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb.
Alright. Back. Well, no, reading fireplace. First attempt for Chiefs. See what Elevate do with this, because if you cast your mind back to the Chiefs attacking us in round 6, they opted to not get that cocktail control, which is the common play. You clear from Bioacross, take cocktail, get vertical into reading to clear out those positions, and then you can actually have a more safe plant. Usually you don't just have to protect from a retake or a flank up the brown stairs, for example, but that wasn't what Chiefs went for, and it really didn't work out. So, see what Elevate do this time. I feel like it's going to be a more traditional clear based on the way that they're setting up this stage. A couple of players going to the roof, so see whether that works out.
I do like the double reinforcement at Cocktail. It's something that I feel like a lot of teams would just reinforce the one panel and then leave that rotate hole as if it was a bar defense, but I really like the way that this is just a solid reinforced position. Now, I don't know if there is a mute jammer on that wall. I don't think there is. So the vulnerable part of that is the potential for a Selma from Ace to just really ruin God Legion's day on that position. But overall, pretty similar to what we saw from Elevate on their defense of this bomb site. But it's an opening pick for DCH. It's been his show all day. Since we had that technical rehost, he hasn't died once.
Yeah, man has been on a heater, and that was a great upside down rappel there on the white stairs window. Last seemed like he was caught off guard, so
such a dirty angle.
It is, isn't it? It's very little cheeky angle. But yeah, Chiefs, this man disadvantage. This is feeling a bit grim here, Dev.
Fisher goes down low, and Sapper finishes that kill as well. 5v3 now. Now we've seen bigger comebacks. Remember, Chiefs won the first round. Elevate bounced back from a 2 versus 5. That was when their dominance began. Worthy and Miloska have to step up here. Just worthy now. Molluska's gone down, and Elevate have seemingly taken this game straight into their own hands and taken first place on the standings along with it. It's all on Worthy in this 1 versus 3 clutch. Still a C4 in pocket, but he keeps waiting. There comes the spray, but the nade from Angry X seals the deal for Elevate. No revenge story today. It is Elevate taking their rightful place at the top of APAC South.
Beautiful nade to close it out, and look, Elevate, they just proved far too strong for the Chiefs this time around. That was a clinical effort from them. They looked fantastic on Cafe. So, as you said, they will go out rightful leaders for APAC South from this Playday.
Massive game from Elevate, and they take down their former roster with a convincing win. And I can't believe that after that first round, and that halfway through that second round, 5v2 for Chiefs. And me and Raven, look, we were starting to call it, weren't we?
Did feel like it. Like, just the way the Chiefs were playing and just the way that it felt like Elevate were on the back foot. It really felt like it was going to be a different game. It didn't feel like that. It was. We really did Caster's curse it. I feel terrible. But no, it just was, yeah, I don't know. It's like Elevate flipped the switch. It was almost like what happened with Q-Confirm. You know, they were down 5-1. They had a timeout, and it was like they flipped a switch. They just came out on top. Yeah, huge.
Elevate did it without a tactical timeout as well. I think they just realized after that first round and the first half of that second round, hey guys, we're not playing our way. You know, we have a very distinct play style. We are known for it, and that is chaos. And we're not playing like that. We're not being aggressive. In that first round, they just sat on site and waited for Chiefs to do their execute. No longer. Elevate stepped up and said, look, this is us. This is how we play, and we're here for it. Rob, I'm sure you've got a lot to say about it. Over to you guys.
Well, I may not have a lot to say about it, but I know two people who will do. Xenox, you're going to be pretty happy with that performance.
Well, if you're an Elevate fan, yeah, you got to be ecstatic with that performance. They decimated Chiefs, a Chiefs team who usually, you know, play up to the standards of their opponent, which for Elevate's sake is really, really high. They take top spot back. They leapfrog over the Knights, of course, who lost earlier this evening. So it's just all sunshine in the Elevate department.
Guys?
Yeah, that was just a fantastic game. Exhibition of Thai Siege, wasn't it? They took the game into their hands, and one round that I really want to just quickly touch on was round number 7, the very first attack from Elevate. We saw Dev in the cast patiently waiting. We were all just waiting for it to explode. The Amaru outside the cocktail window. They pulled it off amazingly. 55 seconds left on the clock. They combined it with the Ying. Just chaos ensued, but they thrive in that chaos. They set the pace really for that entire second half, and from there they just closed it out.
Yeah, the chaotic playstyle definitely, I mean, you've touched on it, guys. I think Dev touched on it as well. It certainly suits them quite well. And one player it definitely suits is Onigiri, who I believe is ready and waiting. Never mind, he's not ready and waiting. He's actually going to be with us in 2 seconds. But I think, Xenox, as we lean into this a little bit more, is this the kind of performance that may scream the Stage 1 champions for Elevate?
Yeah, look, probably. You would have to assume that off the back of the fact they've only lost one map, which was against their crosstown rivals, and even then it was still kind of close 7-5. They looked a little vulnerable, but for the most part, sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong game. They did look vulnerable against Order, who's not really their crosstown rivals, but besides that one game, yeah, they're back now, right? Like, so we can now draw it up, because the question really after that match was, is this it? Is this now like, you know, weak link in the armor here for Elevate? Are we onto something, or is it going to be a one-off? And right now, all you can go off is that it is a one-off, right? So you got to back them in again.
And Guz, I mean, it sounds like Xenox is leaning toward that, but, you know, we have seen enough from all of these teams now to start making up our minds. Would you put them on top of that, on top of the mantle right now?
I think you kind of have to, right? I don't really see any other team that's going to be a serious threat outside of maybe the Knights, but we've already seen that, you know, they are not the strongest of teams at the moment either. So, look, no one is really, like, massively in front as number 1, but Elevate for now just edging out.
I'd say they're sitting pretty comfortable on the throne at the first place right now. Onigiri who is pretty much being crowned for this wonderful roster of Elevate. Congratulations on your win once again. How are you feeling after beating the Chiefs, who were the former Elevate roster?
Hello everyone. We feel great that we beat them, but yeah, we cannot be like be proud of that because we have like two match left. So we will do our best to secure the first place.
You got some tough competition as well in those next two matches, most notably Knights, of course, as well. Just from a personal perspective of yourselves, or even as a team, how are you finding APAC South? Is it a little closer together, all the teams, than you thought maybe when it was all put together?
Again, please.
Are you finding the competition in APAC South to be very close, all the teams?
Yeah. I feel like, yeah. it feels different, different more than APAC South because this we have to fight with Australia player, and we never really fight them like how they play and how their plans. Yeah, we have to do hard work to fight to win them.
Yeah, just quickly, one thing that Dev and Raven were talking about on the broadcast was that you and the team are actually playing in a team house. I guess you're playing next to one another and have that environment. What's it actually like to play next to your teammates? What does it feel like when you're actually in an official match?
It feels like we close to each other and we give we can cheer ourselves up when we lose, and we just say don't worry, we can take the win, and we just tag our hand, a fist bump. Yeah, and that's how we boost our performance and confidence. I
Well,
can
there you
call
have
them
it.
if you want to.
Yeah, please get them on.
I'll go.
There we go.
Hello.
The Elevate roster.
He's in his pajamas.
No, Xenox, that's called gaming attire. Called gaming attire. Onigiri, thank you very much for showing us the entire team. Obviously, you guys are back on top of the APAC South Division. We look forward to seeing you next week for the last two matches.
Yes, we will do our best. Thank you.
There we go. We get to see the Elevate team at last. That's great. We love to see all the boys in together. And it's funny. All they say is a fist bump that is needed to get them back on top. I will say this. I went to call you Raven for a second then, Guz. But you're not Raven. You're Guz. Maybe in a second you will be. Oh, there we go. And bang. He goes. The whip goes crack. It did look a little bit shaky there. Chiefs had an opportunity at the very start. But Elevate were very quick to squash that.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback off that point and just theorycraft if maybe the Chiefs roster changed at the last second with Digital coming out and Milo coming in. Was that the linchpin in this matchup? I'm not too sure. It's just a bit of an open-ended thought. My initial thought is probably not, but a small change like that can have a ripple effect throughout a team.
Yeah. Xenox, any final thoughts?
Yeah, look, I wouldn't buy too much into the Digital for Milo thing, or, whichever way, They played pretty poor, and they'll probably admit that themselves. They didn't play their best tonight. And in fairness, that's because Elevate made it very difficult for them to play at their best. So it's just that fact that Elevate's just such a strong roster. They bounced back after a surprise loss. They showed us why they should still be considered the best in APAC, and once again, definitely are. And unfortunately for Chiefs, shows them that they've got a bit of work to do.
Certainly do. So Elevate, they shoot up to the top of the ladder for now. They're 2 points clear, in fact, of Knights. Don't go anywhere because after the break, it's Q Confirm and Order.